And lastly, now that we have children, as they're aging, becoming more aware that you leave, I think the dynamic of everything changes.
Yeah.
So it's
That's been
really
interesting.
hard when you leave. Like
Yeah.
it's really, and we miss you. Like we miss you. Like the family is not complete. Like we don't feel like we're in our, our flow.
Yeah.
So, but we all, like, I'm cheering you on, and I'm excited that I understand that you need to go and that you love when you get to do the things that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, and I would say early on for me, even especially when we did it before we had kids, to me it was like it was like a take advantage. Like, oh, I get time away. I can do what I want to do, right? And I didn't see it from your lens at all. It was more, what do I get out of this? So that I get to go away, hang out with some of my friends when it was mostly conferences and things like that. Like I can just let loose a little bit more. And I think that caused a lot of challenges. And I was not a good communicator back then, where I would not check in, or I would not call you, or let you know that I was safe at times when I knew, maybe I probably knew you needed that, but I was just very selfish back then, and that this was for me, and I'm going to enjoy myself and have a great time. Welcome back to Over Dinner. I'm Jarrod.
And I'm Dr. Nikki.
What started out as conversations regarding relationships, parenting, personal development, and the human experience over dinner turned into our podcast.
It did.
Yeah, it did. We're actually recording this right before I'm leaving, but this isn't over dinner. This is midday on Sunday, but we can say what we made last night. We can say what we made last night. We had a couple friend over, and we made it's from Brock Your Body.
Yeah, we love her stuff.
Yeah, her stuff's really good. Barbecue chicken, and then we made a homemade Caesar salad, and then some
just like a salmon family
thing. So we'll put that recipe and the recipes in there, and then just we make some really good corn. And what did you make? Yeah, for dessert.
Yeah, I made a strawberry shortcake, but it was made with biscuits.
Biscuits, so good.
So I tried like a new thing, and it was the easiest dessert.
Yeah.
I love strawberry shortcake. I've done pound cake before.
Yep.
But like making them from scratch, I used to feel like that was something I had to do, like make everything from scratch. But you don't have to do that.
You don't have to.
But I made strawberry shortcake with biscuits from Annie's, and
We love Annie's stuff.
Annie's stuff is good. Well, the ingredients, they're not perfect, but they are better than Pillsbury.
They're good enough.
They're good enough, and it was fucking delicious.
Yeah, it was great. It was all really good. It was really good dinner.
Homemade whipped cream. I did make homemade whipped cream.
Lots of recipes to put in the show notes this week.
We have a lot of recipes.
Cool.
And we'll put them all in there.
All right, yeah, so why we're recording this right now, because as I said, I'm going on a trip, but that sparked us to think. We used to have a lot of challenges when I would go on trips for work. I didn't do a good job. We didn't communicate well.
We always fought when he got back.
When I got back, there was always some fight. And so we thought about...
for years.
For years.
Like our entire relationship that Jarrod would go away. Like I'm talking...
And I started traveling more with this new job. Before it was like random conferences or things like that, but this new role, because I'm externally facing and traveling, we've had to learn a lot through that process, both of us as individuals, but in a relationship. So it makes sense. I'm traveling. We've learned a lot and put a lot of things in place to make it a better experience.
And I don't think we're the only ones who struggle with this.
No, it's hard.
When one spouse or one partner travels, especially if there's children involved, it is really challenging.
Yeah, it makes it really challenging. Yeah, and I don't think I put myself in that perspective before. It was like, I'm going on travel. I'm going to do my trip. I have to do these things, but didn't look at the lens of your experience and understanding it and how I could help.
But also, like, you're all in a position where I don't travel.
Yeah.
So I've gone on 2 trips in the course of having children for the last going on 5 years.
Yep.
I have not ever left you except twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
So, for sure.
And,
that's what we're talking
about. And Jarrod had lots of help.
Lots of help.
Not that he can't do it himself.
No, I did. Oh, okay.
No, you're a very competent father. I'm saying.
Thank you, Nikki.
Very competent. Like you run the roost. Is that what they say?
I'm sure.
Rule the roost. I don't know. But I'm saying, like, because you have a full-time job, you had to have extra help. So I'm not. For sure. I had help too. Yeah,
for sure. So let's start there. So let's start just initially probably more back then. It's probably a little bit of experience is different now, but when I used to travel and we weren't where we are now, what was that experience? And knowing I was about to travel, what did that feel like? What was going on for you?
Yeah. I think before I get into like logistical things, for me, it starts with the separation, which is really tough. I'm a person that gets really used to routine or being able to depend on someone, not necessarily like you taking on certain things, but like having my person home,
There's
having
two
my
of us
person
there.
there.
Yeah.
But I'm talking even before kids, like just having my partner there, like to share meals with, or to like having our routine, like all that shifting is very challenging for me because I've become a very accustomed to that, and it's important for the way that I.
Do you think it's at all stems from being an only child and all that? Do you think
For
that
sure.
stems from
Well,
it?
I was going to get to all of this.
I was just asking a question.
Yes. So the separation, for sure, is really tough for me. I also have a lot of anxiety, and my anxiety has gotten increasingly worse as I've gotten older, and feel like I have more to lose with having children and so forth. So, and the world is crazy. So I feel like I have a lot of intrusive thoughts, and so when you're not close by, that's hard. So I first have like the mental challenge of trying to just first it's like I guess the like going with the shift and like kind of rearranging. Then it's the mental aspect of fighting that. And then on a deeper level, I was talking to my therapist or our therapist about this, is that I was raised as an only child with two very involved parents, maybe too involved in some ways. And unfortunately, it did teach me that I'm not competent on my own.
You're dependent.
I'm dependent on someone else. And so relearning that as an adult, especially with your help, as what we've been together, has been really, really helpful. So I think some of those old beliefs come in. And then it's the physical load. Like, you are such a participant. Like I just said, you're an amazing dad. Like, you take on so much, not because you feel like you have to, but that's who you are. So like little things that you do, like if you're gone on over a Wednesday and I have to take out the trash, it's like one more thing added.
Yeah.
Or you're the person who comes home and you get things orderly or clean things up. That then adds onto my plate.
Dinner, all that. Yeah.
All dinner for myself, for the kids, and then like my schedule of when do I work out to take care of myself. Things get really rearranged. And lastly, now that we have children, as they're aging, becoming more aware that you leave, I think the dynamic of everything changes.
Yeah.
So it's
That's been
really
interesting.
hard when you leave. Like it's really, and we miss you. Like we miss you. Like the family is not complete. Like we don't feel like we're in our flow.
Yeah.
So, but we all, like, I'm cheering you on, and I'm excited that I understand that you need to go and that you love when you get to do the things that you're really passionate about, and I'm very supportive of that, while I am also struggling with
Both
the
can
other
be true.
aspect. Yeah.
Both can be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say early on for me, even especially when we did it before we had kids, to me it was like a take advantage. Like, oh, I get time away. I can do what I want to do, right? And I didn't see it from your lens at all. It was more, what do I get out of this? So that I get to go away, hang out with some of my friends when it was mostly conferences and things like that. Like, I can just let loose a little bit more. And I think that caused a lot of challenges. And I was not a good communicator back then, where I would not check in, or I would not call you or let you know that I was safe at times when I knew, maybe I probably knew you needed that. But I was just very selfish back then, and that this was for me, and I'm going to enjoy myself and have a great time. And then it always led to repercussions and just fights, and you not feeling like I cared, which I probably didn't. Like, at that point, I probably didn't. We had some really tough conversations.
So you didn't care what?
It was about me, that I got to have a good time. Like, I wasn't really thinking about you. I didn't have that muscle built. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was like, I'm going to have a great time and having a great experience, and this is awesome, and this is great, but not thinking about, from an empathetic or compassionate standpoint, what you were going through, and what that was like. And then, I mean, even in kids, that some of those things still happened. One thing was that I would really have a good time.
You can explain what that means.
I would enjoy myself by drinking too much, and sometimes wouldn't tell you when I was going to bed, and you were sitting up all night wondering if I made it back safe and all those things. So I can imagine how scary.
That was really what my fear was. Like, I never thought, like, women, I never worried about like cheating. It was really like, is he okay?
Yeah, am I okay? Because I had tendencies back then.
Mm-hmm.
I had tendencies back then, and you saw that just when we were together with hanging out with friends locally, and then now I'm not there with him, and now he's gone, and no one's telling him to slow down or stop, and probably encouraging him because Jarrod likes that stuff.
But at that age, that everyone's encouraging, like, let's take shots, like, let's get fucking wild.
I'm having a great time. So that's where I was. And again, I hadn't done the work, or we hadn't had the right conversations yet, or for me to even be open to the conversations of your experience. It was more about me and what I got out of it, and I got to enjoy myself, obviously. So that's where I was. So the big thing was communication, though. I mean, the biggest thing was just not over communication, just like letting me know, telling me when you weren't going to be available. Like, hey, I'm not going to be available. I'm in this conference or in this meeting for this amount of time. I'll reach out to you after. But we didn't even have those. We didn't even prepare before, or I would just go on the trip and we didn't talk about things back at home or any of those things before. And it was kind of like, she'll figure it out, right? I go, and then I come back, and then everything should be fine. But it never was that case. So when I came back, what was that like for you? Like, what do you think was the cause of, like, it literally was every single time there was a fight?
And you would make the statement of, like, I feel like I can never go away. Or, like, I feel like I get in trouble every time I, like, go and do these things. Yeah. And I hated that feeling that, like, because I am okay with you going, like, we've been talking about you going on a boys' trip. I already feel like I don't want it to happen. And I'm also really pumped and excited that is something that you can go experience, because I'm experiencing it. Yeah. And I know how important it is for you to do that. But because we've built so much trust and we do communicate, I'm not going to lie, I still have moments. Like, I still have, like, wavering concerns. Yeah. Like, would this one time be the time?
That stuff's happened more than the more recent stuff.
No, I don't know.
I've been good. Yeah. But I think it does exist. Why not? That still would be fair. It's like even things from our childhood that probably would never happen, we're still thinking about. Yeah. Right? You have experienced it in a relationship.
I didn't mean to, like, totally segue. Answer your question.
Yeah. Well, why do you think when we came back, obviously there's a lot of built up that because we haven't talked too much. So
there was just, like, nights, right? So, like, you wouldn't call at all. Like, and again, I didn't need a half hour you away from the bar, like, stepping away. I needed hey, I'm at this place drinking with friends. I will text you when I go to bed. Yeah. Like, literally, that's just messages.
But I think also what it was when I came back, because I had such a good time, that I was drained and didn't have energy. You was hungover.
Drunk.
Yeah, I wasn't drunk when I got back, but I was just
drunk.
No, I'm talking about when I came back home.
So that was frustrating too, right? Because I haven't hung out.
Yeah.
Not I need you, but like, I want to spend time with you. I'm excited that you're home, and there was nothing to give, and like that also wasn't communicated. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, like, I'm wrecked. Like, I just need some rest. Yeah. Like, there was no reconnection plan of, like, hey, like, I'm gonna rest right now, and then maybe later we can go grab a bite to connect again. There was no reconnection.
It was like, I'm tired, I want to lay on the couch and do nothing.
Yeah. And that was hard because I also hadn't heard from you. Then that piece of I'm excited to also be home was tough. And then I felt really frustrated, unwanted, alone. Like, I was scared. I sometimes had to make phone calls to people I didn't want to make phone calls to, and, like, share my anxiety about you. And like, I didn't want to talk to people about those things. Like, I wanted to keep that private, but I didn't feel like I could have that conversation with you. So you'd come back, we'd have these fights, and then we'd make up, but then they would happen again. Yeah.
And we never talked about in between how we'll be different next time.
Yeah. We did at one point.
Maybe we did, but like, I still I still messed up.
Honestly, it was really when you chose to change yourself. Because no matter how many times I asked, like, about the drinking, or how many times I asked to check in, like, that didn't matter. It didn't have enough weight. But when you made the choice yourself, that's when real shifts happen.
That's just in everything. Like, no one can tell you to do something. If you do something for someone else, you're not actually doing it with any energy or effort, because it's for somebody else. It's not for you until I went inward and said, damn, this is a me thing, and I need to change. And it wasn't about that specifically. It was more when I started to do the work.
It kind of just it shifted itself.
Well, because then we could communicate
Right.
better. I understand my emotions and empathy and what I was feeling and all those things. So I think that was really important. So this was all prior to having kids. Then you bring a child into the world, and that probably brings up more for you when I leave, especially.
So I was relieved that we were in a pandemic.
Yeah, because I didn't travel at all.
You didn't travel at all? We weren't going out to the bars. We weren't hanging out with friends.
Yeah, we weren't doing that. Yeah.
Anything. So it was kind of like the best for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then here all the time.
Yeah.
Some people didn't like that, and I was like, my family unit is together all the time.
And I think I like that too. I think that experience with all of us together, like that, I found a lot of value in that too, right? So before I used to like really look forward to trips, and I look forward to them, but I also I love my family and I love being with them. So I think getting that time together and just like having our family unit, when I did, the beginning of first traveling was right before we started to move out here. I'd fly out here on a little basis, but that was very different. It was coming in for a couple of days. I wasn't really going out, right? But I think what we should talk about now is I'm trying to remember when that turning point when we actually had really good communication, and then maybe you felt more that I was stepping up, that I was communicating more. We were communicating more. It felt better when I got home. Like when did that feel that started?
I don't remember exactly when, but I do remember. I believe it was either your fantasy football league trip or a conference trip. It was one. You were gone, and I remember specifically you just checking in, or just like giving me a little bit more information, and that was a shift. And then I remember what happened after that was you would like in between things, like maybe you were at the conference and then you guys were taking a break and like going to the pool or going to do something else. You'd come upstairs. You would call me and say, hey, I'm going to leave my phone in the room, but I just wanted to tell you what we were doing. And that happened. But then I wouldn't hear from you for hours. You didn't have your phone. And I also didn't have to find my friends at this point. So I started to spiral a bit. But there were definitely changes that you made.
And it was also, I thought one thing that we said there, I used to only text you on trips.
Yeah.
I would never call.
Yeah.
Like that was just like my thing. I would never call you. And now the habit is like, I call you probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, we barely text when you're gone, actually.
Yeah, it's mostly I'll call you at certain points.
Yeah, when you have a little break or something, or like just some space, or when you get home because you're not doing the going out like you were in the past. But that's when there was like a start. Just there was an effort on your part to send a message. Just really simple, but I would get something.
Yep.
And then it became more consistent of just sending those little check-ins, and I was really appreciative, I think, which then helped the return.
Yep. We usually would, I think we started to do things like we would go out to dinner that night or do something, or order in and do something like when I got home. Because first off, I wasn't as hungover as I was, and I had energy, right? But we also decided to go like do things after that, because we had talked about that, is that, hey, like let's bring it back together, the unit together, right? Don't just come home and try to go back into our team, but like kind of like a symbolism of us, Dad's back or Jared's back. Let's do something to like reconnect with the group, whatever that, or the family, whatever that is. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was really important.
I think we should, now I'm thinking, I feel like that slipped a little bit. I think also partly because you get home late sometimes, and then you go to work the next day, and it's like, but maybe we should reestablish that, like, we get this ice cream when Dad gets back every time, so they look forward to it, because they are starting to understand that Dad is, they may not like fully get, like, he takes an airplane, he goes somewhere else, but he does understand.
His presence, they're not here.
Daddy goes on an airplane, and then whatever that means, and then he's just gone, and then he comes back. So I think, reestablishing that reconnection would be really helpful. Yep.
So let's talk about where we are at now, or maybe some other things that we did. The biggest thing, I think, too, which was, how can I help you prepare? Like, how can I help you get ready? What can I, whether that's grocery shopping, simple meals, plan through the week with you, talk about, okay, this is where the kids are going. This is what I'm thinking I'm taking to my parents. These are things they have coming up. So we'd really walk through your week, and then really think about the food for the kids. Okay, what are we going to make? Like, lay it out. Let's just lay it all out. And then what can I prepare for you before me leaving, to make sure you feel good and that it's not as much like trying to figure it all out. And maybe I'm not available to talk at that time, but putting it all together, how has that been different, or how has that helped?
Well, you answered just a lot of it, but
Yeah.
it is executive functioning is challenging for me.
Yep.
And prioritizing things can be challenging for me. So I'm really good about writing everything down that needs to be done, but deciding necessarily like what is more important or how to order something, not order something, like put things in order is challenging. So walking through that is like super helpful of what does this week look like pickups. Then you're like, well, then this would make better sense. Do all these things. But as I said in the very beginning of our episode, is that you are a huge contributor in our family. So when you are gone, that absence, not only just you, but everything that you do for our family is very evident.
It's all added on your plate.
And so all that's added on. So when you first were traveling and we had not established any of this, it was a shit show. It was so chaotic. It was painful, right? And there still have been like more, challenging times when you're gone, but because you have made a really intentional effort before you leave, some things have been easier. Yeah. So like we will go grocery shopping on the weekends. We didn't do it this time. We didn't have time, but I can do an Instacart and pick it up and that'll be fine. But there has been that. You have made like chicken for like several days. So like I just have meals ready to go. Cause like sometimes like me figuring out what to eat or how to make food, even as simple as it can be, is really hard. Yeah. So having it ready, for me that's really helpful. And because cooking is something that comes natural to you, it's something you do all the time, it's something that is harder for me, easier for you. It helps me out.
And it's not part of your typical routine.
No.
So this is an added piece that you have to think about. Sometimes like you're like, I don't think I've eaten. Like sometimes you forget. Something I wanted to talk about, but I think it's gotten better, but it always seemed like things happened when I was gone. Like, and you had this belief that something's always going to happen. Something big is going to happen. And I think two things. Sometimes things did happen, but I also think when you have that perspective, something that probably, but I don't
always go into it thinking that something big's going to happen when you're gone. I like when you're well, maybe this time I have a little bit more the
but I think
anxiety,
it's underlying there, right? There's a piece that something's going to happen. So something could happen that if I was here, it wouldn't seem as big because again, there's two of us.
Yeah.
But because I'm not here, see, there's the thing. Like this hard thing happened, even though we could probably look back at when we're here together and these something very similar those are happening, but it doesn't seem as big because it's both of us.
Well, a couple months ago when we were getting our backyard done, there was changes going on with Jake. There was like so many things happening at one time. I can't remember what all the things are.
You're getting in the car. It was all this stuff. Yeah.
It was just a lot of things happening at one time that you were gone like 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
And that was really tough to manage those things when you're used to having a partner. But there's two parts I want to come back to. So I do feel that there has been sometimes extra things that happen. And I have a theory of why some of those happen. And the other ones, like, I'm not sure why. Like, the theory that I have is you create balance. You do create a harmony. The way that you manage things or how I am feeling or reacting or being able to emotionally regulate because you're there.
I can help.
You can help. Yeah. So it creates more like calm in the house. Things aren't as, chaotic. But the second part is if you want to go like spiritual, esoteric, or existential on it, then what did I just say? Esoteric?
Existential. It's existential. Existential.
Existential. Yeah. Is that I'm supposed to be getting all of these things to prove to myself that I am competent enough to carry that. I think it's a great right? lens. So I do think, that's something we should definitely talk about, is when that huge shift happened just in the last 6 months. We were in couples therapy when that happened. So what Jarrod saying is that every time he's gone, like something happens, whether it's like Jake has poop all over him and he like didn't use the potty, like, or just shit happens.
Shit happens. Literally.
No pun intended. But there was a moment, Jarrod was gone, and he said to me something different than he had ever said before. And that was also a huge change in myself and you.
Me, how I respond. Because before, I'll just say this before.
Yeah.
If we were on a call, it was like me trying
on a phone call.
On a phone call at the end of the night, and we're talking like it's me trying to get off the phone because I want to go to bed and get up early and go to the gym. And
I'm telling you about
I'm discounting, and I'm trying to flip it and make it
positive. Like, it's going to be okay, or like, what, you know.
And then what happens in turn is that call actually, because then we get in a fight, turns into an hour call.
Yeah.
Where I was just trying to get off the phone so I could go to bed. And that actually made the situation worse and extended. And I've had some self-reflection, like, this is your experience. And so you can finish the story, but that's where it was before to that moment.
Yeah. So in this particular call, we're still working on potty training Jake. He's doing great, but we're still working on it. And back at this period of time, I was venting to Jarrod and also sharing my grief really about autism. And what I've also learned at this point, just to caveat a minute, is like, this is not just an autism thing. This is a childhood thing. Yeah. A lot of potty training in general. But I was sharing my worry, my grief, like that I like can't do this.
I can't manage this all.
I can't manage this all. Like, I am just so overwhelmed. I feel really sad and things like that. And Jarrod said,
what I said is like, you are managing it.
Mm-hmm.
This is just your experience while managing it. Like, no one's dying. The house isn't burned down. You're alive. The kids are alive. You are managing it. It's all working. You're managing it, but you're just expressing your experience through managing it, how challenging it is to manage it. But you are capable, and you are managing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that had never been said before.
Never said
ever.
That before.
I'd never felt, well, like, he said it, and it was like he sees me.
Yeah.
He also is not judging me. He is saying that I'm doing a good job. Mm-hmm. And that I can do this. Yeah,
and you also can feel these feelings.
And that I can feel these feelings. Yeah. And I'm your partner, where I'm going to listen to them. Yeah. And like, I think that's just such an important piece, because after that, then it shifted even more. I feel like you being, even today, like in the car when I was talking about the bug spray stuff, like your reaction to me, like, I was really upset that Sydney had these bug bites, that they were really bad, and what if she gets West Nile virus? And you were like, well, you got to look the other side. This shit in the bug spray isn't good, so it's a lose-lose, right?
There's no right answer.
So that goes, I'm like, okay, like, I'm doing all right. Yeah. So having your partner, like, validate your experience.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, for both of us. I mean, you do a good job, and we've worked on that too. Is like, your experience is your experience, right? And it's not discounting it. And before, I couldn't be there for you because those emotions did not sit well with me, because I didn't like those emotions. So I'm going to get away from them as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. I think we talked about that before. But now, me still uncomfortable when those emotions come up, I allow them to be there. But that also, that's how we relate. Like, oh, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling it because of what she's expressing, but she's feeling it because she's in it. But we're feeling the same things in our different ways, and I can understand. I'm like, damn, this doesn't feel good for me. Must not feel. I can imagine what that feels like for her, right? So then I can share it. But like, I think it was the big thing is that, like, you doubting yourself, but I'm like, you do it. You've done it. You do it so well. You've done it for so long, right? If you couldn't manage it, we wouldn't have this house, or the kids wouldn't be going to school, or there'd be no food. The house would be a mess. Like, that, you're managing it. It's just fucking hard to manage it. And I get anxious and stressed and frustrated and angry. Totally. I did too. Like, the small amount of times, or just when I've been with him, when maybe you go out, it's hard. It's hard to be alone with two kids, right? Who are different and different ages and have different needs. It's hard. And you are a balance for me, just the same that I'm a balance for you. So when you're not here, it's hard. So I think we've learned that, and that's why I think I I like going on these trips, but I do miss being home, which before that never felt that way before. Like I really look forward to coming home, and being with my family and feeling that love. Because I think for multiple reasons, us doing the work and where our relationship is at, and then obviously having these kids and they're amazing and incredible. But I think it's mostly this, like this is the foundation, as we've always said, of everything. And so the work we've done is I miss us, being together and our family. I love just being with our family at home. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So before I was like, I want to get away from it because we weren't in a good place. We would be fighting. I didn't like the emotions, right? It was like my get away from all this madness. But now it's like, no, I miss being there and miss being with my family and being with you. So I think that's a big shift that's changed for me, and why I want to communicate more and call and check in and FaceTime, which I never did before. Like we FaceTime a lot when I'm away. So,
and I think, thank you for saying all that, because it's important for me to remember that, because sometimes I think you're calling or texting or FaceTiming because you feel like you have to.
No, I don't. And that's a shift I made. Before it was always I felt like I have to, always. And our therapist has done a great job of realizing, what do you want? Right? And you can say no. And I never ever said no to anything. Like I'm a people pleaser. I didn't want to upset you. But I realized in doing that, you could tell or know, because I would rush things or try to get off the phone or not do things. And that made the situation worse. So, but I'm doing it now because I want to do it. And it makes me feel good. And I need to make decisions for myself, which in turn are positive and good decisions. Because you're okay. You're like, say no. Like, that's fine. It's still hard, really freaking hard for me to say no. I don't like saying no to anything, work or anything. But it's important to acknowledge where I'm at and what I'm feeling, and being able to express that. But the byproduct of that has been, I want to call. I'm not calling because I have to. It's a way different experience when you call, because you want to see your family and hear their voices and see their faces and see how things are going. It's different.
Yeah.
Cool. So biggest things take away from this.
I mean, I think we say in every single episode.
I guess you're going to say communication?
Well, no.
Oh.
Yes, I am going to say that, but neither of us would be in the position that we are in our relationship without what?
Doing the work ourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I keep this phrase like in my head a lot, like self-work makes the dream work.
I think that's my quote, right?
No, it's definitely my quote.
All right, but we're trademarking that. Don't take it.
Yeah. It's self-work makes the dream work, right?
It does.
So
it's not. Yeah. What's the normal saying? It's teamwork makes the dream work. That's true, but I think self-work leads to teamwork, which leads the dream working.
It is really, really true, because we both, even though I was able to communicate my feelings, I still wasn't communicating in a way that was helpful for you.
Yeah.
My communication felt like a tax to you, and because I hadn't done the work, and then you hadn't done the work, we weren't able to actually be empathetic towards one another. So
it was a battle. Who could be louder? Who could get their point across? Who could jab?
It just didn't. And then we would patch it up and then move on, and the same thing would happen
again. Yep.
So once you started that, and then were able to give me a little bit more, we still were in that place for a bit. But the reason why we are where we are now, literally recording a podcast and talking about these things, we're not experts by any means. We still have a lot of work
to do. Our
mess
mess is your gift.
Yeah, our mess is your gift. There we go. Is that though, how many steps we've taken, how much we've gained because of the work that we've chosen to do, feel the uncomfortable things, have the uncomfortable conversations multiple times, has then brought us to a place of real connection. And
I think the biggest thing is those things don't not they happen still, but we're really good at going, oh, it's happening, stop. Before we would just run down that road and beat and go. Yeah. But
we
now,
talked about in one of our last episodes, the conflict cycles.
Yeah, now that we're aware of it and we start to feel it, stop ourselves and slow ourselves down. Sometimes record a podcast about it
Yeah.
in the middle of it, but
We'll post it in the show notes.
yeah. But we pause ourselves and go, whoa, we're in this cycle again. How are you feeling? Where are you at? Where am I at? What's this bringing up for you? And then it allows us to come back to the conversation and have the real conversation. Before we would never do that. It was just like, no, I'm going to be louder. I'm going to jab. I'm going to pick something far from the past to hit you hard.
Yeah.
And you're going to one up me, and then we're going to beat each other down, and then let's patch it really quick, and then let's move on.
Yep. So, like, I think there's a couple takeaways here. One is self-work.
Yep.
So doing your own, I almost said due diligence, but like doing your own like development, your own kind of exploration of why do you feel this way, or like what's comes up for you, and like these
what
different
beliefs
things.
All
these elements.
Same stuff I always say.
Yeah, so that's the first step. The second step is then the communication, right? And then within the communication is the real tangible practical pieces of like how can we support one another, right? So how can the partner who is leaving support the partner who is at home? How can the partner at home support the partner who is traveling? Yeah. So that is and
what are we doing when we come back?
And what is the reconnection?
I think that's missed. It's like, what's our reconnection point? What's there for us most important, and the kids too, but I think us to reconnect just instead of just going back into it, because it was different. It was a different experience. Right. We need to, it's cool to have a ritual. It actually helps a lot. Yeah. I know it could sound funny, but it actually works really well to have that ritual to reconnect.
Well, everyone's looking forward to it. Yeah. It's really nice. So I think was that 4 steps? So like self-work, communication, practical.
Talking about before.
Like the practical elements, and then the reconnection. Yeah, it's like really how we are making it work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Well, safe travels, Jarrod.
Thanks. I'm literally ending this recording and getting in the car and driving to the airport.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts, like anything we missed or things that you've done with your spouse, because we know there's a lot of people out there that one person travels and a lot of the time. So anything else that's worked for you, what challenges maybe you guys face, and we'd love to hear from you guys. It's been fun to hear the stuff that we missed or stuff that you aligned to.
It's been so much fun.
It's been so much fun. So please, again, if you're new or have not yet, please subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Apple. Follow us on Spotify.
Well, that's where you listen.
Follow us on Instagram at Overdin Podcast. We're really enjoying this, and we appreciate it. Nick, you got this. You can manage it all, girl. You got it.
The last thing I'll say, I do enjoy with sometimes like the alone time at night. I make a Ninja Creamy, and then I watch my show and take a bath, and it's really nice. It is, but it's just like I miss you a lot. But I will enjoy after our kids go down, and
and you got a few hours right now. They're at the in-laws. So you got a few hours now. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Okay. Love you, babe.
Love you.
All right. See you guys. Bye.